Meshaal, I'd like to come to you first. What details can you disclose currently to our viewers?
So as far as the details are concerned, all the details, most of the details have been released by the Iranian state media, Press TV. They have quoted IRGC, which is the Iranian Republican Guard Corps. It's a really powerful group based in Iran. So they have released, a small statement saying that Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh was killed inside their territory in Tehran. As you have been saying that he was in Tehran to attend the swearing ceremony of the new president of Iran. He was there yesterday. Many world leaders were present there. So the fact that he was killed within few hours of that ceremony, that is a huge development. The other fact is that the attack occurred inside Iranian territory. But the fact that Israel has not yet claimed the attack and what kind of reactions will Iran give to that? That all remains to be seen. A lot of questions are there to be answered. A short update has been given by Press TV, which is the Iranian state media, saying that Ismail Haniyeh, who was the chief of Hamas, who was the face of Hamas since he traveled around the Middle East, vouching for Hamas wherever he went, and he sort of bridged a gap between the world powers and Hamas, since he was stationed outside of the Gaza territory and sort of furthered the cause of Hamas. So it's a big loss for Hamas. A big vacuum will be there, since he had been leading Hamas for a while now, and he had dedicated his life to the Hamas's cause. And the fact that his 3 sons were killed this year in another Israeli strike, it says how much of an effect, his family, the killing of his family could have on the war. So how Israel releases the statement, that is still to be seen. As we've been reporting that within a space of few hours, 2 key opposition forces of Israel, one belonging to the powerful Hezbollah militant group, and another one, Ismail Haniyeh, both have been killed within a space of few hours. It's a huge development. It could reshape how this Israel-Hamas war has been, shaped in the last few months.
Yes.
So all of that will be, seen in the next few days or the next few weeks.
Well, lots of unanswered questions at this point. Vishal, do stay on with us as I rope in Mohammad Ghazali as well, who's been tracking the latest developments. Ghazali, just about 18 hours ago, a Hamas delegation led by Ismail Haniyeh met with the new Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian to discuss the political and field developments that were related to the Israeli war on Gaza. And in fact, Senior Minister Nitin Gadkari was also present, and this is just about 18 hours ago.
Yes, India's representation was being done by Mr. Nitin Gadkari, our Roads and Transport Minister, in the swearing-in ceremony of Iranian President. Now, coming to the point that what happens next. As Russell was also mentioning when you asked him, that it's very uncertain, because US was already trying to de-escalate the situation after Israeli airstrike in Lebanon, or in Beirut, in the capital city, which killed one of the key architects of 1983 US Marine barracks attack, in which more than 200 US Marines were killed back in 1983. So after that situation, killing somebody in Lebanon, now an assassination in Iran's territory is going to be, can give a very likelihood of an escalation in the region, because since this war has broken out since October 7, US and other world powers, like all the Arab world leaders or the nations there, like Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey, initially they had all been trying to de-escalate the situation. And since yesterday, US was certainly trying to de-escalate the situation, asking even Israel, and through back-channel talks to Hezbollah as well, to not drag this into a full-blown war. And that is why yesterday we saw targeted attack, and what we call a attack with precision, where Israel claimed that they have killed the Hezbollah commander, one of the key commanders of Hezbollah in Lebanon. But nobody was expecting that Ismail Haniyeh, who was in Iran for the swearing-in ceremony of the Iranian president, would be assassinated. Now, further details have to emerge to know whether Israel had shared this plan, or whether Israel takes the responsibility for this, because Iranian state media and those aligned with Iran are certainly blaming Israel for it. But now it will have to be seen whether the United States was in the know of the things, because for most of the operations we have seen since last year that Israel keeps US in the loop. it keeps informing them about the attack. And now it's all the onus on the United States to see whether the situation escalates from this point, or whether both the parties will yet again be asked to control and not go, or maybe a controlled retaliation like what we saw when Iran sent hundreds of drones over Israel. And it will have to be seen whether other players are also dragged into this war. Houthis have been quiet for a while. There have been threats of attacks on US properties or defense properties in Iraq and others in Syria. So in Iraq, basically. So we'll have to see whether all these elements
join the
this entire escalation situation in the Middle East.
Ghazali, as always, thanks so much for contextualizing the latest developments for us. Let's also go across to Vishal, who's still with us. Vishal, we know Ismail Haniyeh rose to prominence in 2006, but if you could just give a little bit context into his history for our viewers.
So, as I had been mentioning, that he had almost dedicated his entire life to Hamas's political cause. He was the political chief of Hamas. It's safe to say he was the face of Hamas for a while now. His predecessor was assassinated reportedly by Israel. He had stepped in to fill some big shoes, and he had been delivering that role for a while. And during his reign as the chief of Hamas, this big war against Israel had also started. So he was obviously involved in planning and coordinating one of the biggest, probably the biggest attack on Israel that occurred on October 7 last year. To put it into more perspective, he spent almost 4 decades in the party. There was another party before Hamas was, constituted. He had started in that party and then moved, up the ranks of Hamas. And while he had been rising through the ranks of Hamas, there were multiple attempts on his life, multiple assassination attempts on his life. He had survived all of them. But when the war against Israel started last year, the situation was escalated to next level, and his 3 sons were assassinated by Israel this year. He had seemed very poised when the announcement was made to him that his sons had been assassinated. So he was a really strong force within Hamas and outside Hamas. And then finally, he could not survive the latest assassination attempt. As we've been reporting, he has been killed in Tehran. But it remains to be seen who is behind the attack. But as Ghazali had mentioned, that Iranian state media is straight away blaming Israel for these attacks.
Vishal, thanks so much for joining us with the latest developments.